What if the thing that's keeping you invisible at work isn't a lack of talent? Nor is it the fact that Dave in finance got that plum project you had your eye on. But in fact, it's just that you've been so busy reacting, you've forgotten to think. Welcome to Unshakable Her, helping ambitious women who are constantly second-guessing themselves to build the daily habits that compound into unshakable confidence. I'm Caroline Esterson and I'm in your corner. And today it's Monday, which means I'm telling a story. Because the best way to see your own situation clearly is to listen to someone else live it first. Then we'll crack open the unspoken rulebook of how power, promotion and visibility really move so that you can stop second guessing and start moving away from imposter syndrome and towards the influence you deserve. Grab your coffee. Let's go. Right then, my friends, by the time we're done today, this is what you'll have thought about, learned or explored. Number one, you're going to understand exactly why smart, talented women in leadership roles get stuck in reactive mode and what it's actually costing them in terms of visibility and influence. Two, you're going to meet Sarah, and the moment her manager says, honestly, it's just something we have to go through, it is going to stop you dead in your tracks because that sentence is so going to follow you into your own diary. And three, you're going to discover the one unspoken rule that is quietly running your working week and possibly even your career without you even realizing it. Can I talk to you about something that I genuinely think about quite a lot? We are living in the age of busyness as a badge of honor. You ask someone how they are and what do they say? Oh, busy, always busy. And I get it, I really do, because when everything is flying at you and the messages are stacked up across 23 different platforms and someone needs something yesterday and there are 17 things on your to-do list before lunch, whilst it would be lovely to take time out and regroup, often the only practical, logical response is to put your head down and crack on with it. But here's what I want you to consider today. You know, that head down, crack on energy? Well, maybe it could be the very thing that is quietly, invisibly costing you your career. Not because you're not working hard, you absolutely are. But because busyness and brilliance are not the same thing. And the people who get noticed and promoted are the ones who have that figured out. And even more importantly, they then did something about it. So we are going to talk about focus, real focus, not the look at me, I brought a moleskin notebook kind, never to be used except for doodles, the career changing, value adding, actually get seen kind. I want to introduce you today to Sarah. Sarah is a sales director, 11 people in her team. She's the one, you know, the one they send in when a key account is wobbling. She's the closer, the fixer, the one who makes the difficult look routine. And she's worked her way up through graft and talent and, frankly, a terrifying ability to read the room in a client pitch. Her team respect her, her results are solid, and yet every single Monday morning without fail at 9 o'clock sharp, she sits at the head of a table and watches 11 capable people slowly die inside. You know this meeting. You might even run this meeting. Ooh, maybe you're on the receiving end of this meeting right now as you listen to this episode. Now, that would probably be a little weird, but never mind. Each person shares their update. Sarah, as chair, nods. Someone asks a polite question. Then they move on to the next person. And by the time they reach person 11, person 1 has mentally drafted 3 emails and wondered what's for lunch. 11 people, 1 hour, every single week. And here's the maths that should make you wince a little bit. That 11 combined working hours every week spent on updates that had already been prepared, already been written down, already existed in a slide deck that everyone could have read on the bus. Now, pull that out over a year. Are you doing the maths? Because I did it and it made me twitch. You ready for it? It's 506 hours. That's over 12 weeks for one person a year sitting in a meeting that adds absolutely nothing. 12 weeks. Just imagine what you could do. Sarah noticed it too. She could feel the energy in that room, or rather the absence of the energy. People were just going through the motions, turning up because that's what you do on a Monday at 9, sharing because that's what you do when it's your turn. And when she got to the end and said any questions, silence. Every time, just 11 people looking at the table, waiting to be released back into the wild, or at least to go and get a coffee. So she did something brave. She asked them, not in the meeting, because we all know nothing honest ever gets said in the meeting itself, right? Yeah, you know it. She caught people individually, grabbed 5 minutes here and there. And what she heard was illuminating. One person said they spent more time formatting the update slides than the meeting itself lasted. Another said they'd stopped preparing anything meaningful because nobody ever really engaged with it anyway. A third, and this is the one that stayed with Sarah, said, I've ideas every single week that I never say out loud because there's never a moment that feels like the right moment. Ideas every week going nowhere. Now, Sarah sat with that for a bit, and then she did something even braver. She went to her own manager and asked, what do you actually think of our Monday team meeting? And her manager, without missing a beat, said, honestly, Sarah, it's just something we have to go through. Just something we have to go through. 11 people, 11 hours, a room full of ideas that never get spoken. And the person at the top of the chain thought it was just something that they had to go through. That moment, that tiny, slightly deflating, completely clarifying moment was Sarah's pivot point. Because she realized it wasn't a meeting. It was a habit, a process that someone somewhere had set up at some point for some reason, and that had just kept rolling forward week after week, unchallenged, unquestioned, time-consuming, and energy. And this is the bit that really matters. Process that someone had set up at some point for some reason, and that had just kept rolling forward week after week, unchallenged, unquestioned, consuming time and energy. And this is the bit that really matters. Consuming the visibility and influence of 11 people who had things worth saying and no space to say them. So she went back to her team and she asked one question. If we could do Monday morning any way we wanted, if there were no rules and no expectations, and we just asked, what would actually be useful here? What would that hour look like? And they told her, read the updates in advance, use the hour for one question. How do we make our work this week more meaningful and more impactful? No slides, no going around the table, just thinking together. So that's what they started to do. Sarah sent the updates out on Friday afternoon. Monday morning, the slide deck stayed closed. One question on the whiteboard. And that meeting that had been quietly sapping the life out of 11 talented people every single week, became the best hour of their working week, full of challenge and collaboration. Someone saying the idea that they've been sitting on for 3 weeks. Energy, actual energy on a Monday morning, right? I know, which frankly feels like a miracle. Her team started looking forward to Mondays, and Sarah stopped feeling like a meeting administrator. She started feeling, and more importantly, being seen as the leader. One question, 11 hours reclaimed, and a shift in focus from what we have done to what we can make possible. That's the 2 millimeter difference in action right there. Now, I want to bring in something else because Sarah's story isn't unusual. I was working with the planning team not long ago, the kind of people who keep an entire operation running without anyone really noticing. And when we asked them to map the value they were adding now against the value that they could be adding if they've refocused on a 24-month horizon, They didn't just get it, they ran with it. But the gap between those two numbers, well, that gap was what took everyone's breath away just a little. The difference in value amounted to millions of pounds each year. No one needed a lengthy change program after that conversation. The mindset shifted because they could finally see what their focus was costing them and the business. And that's the thing, isn't it, right? When the cost is invisible, the habit just continues. But when you make that cost visible, even for a moment, something moves deep inside. The unspoken rule book. Know the rules, own the game. Right. If you'd like to turn to page 47 of the unspoken rule book, please. Are you ready for this one? Because this one is everywhere. We do it this way because that's how it's always been done. You know it. I know you know it. This is possibly the most dangerous rule in the entire book because it doesn't sound like a rule. It sounds like common sense. It sounds like stability. It sounds like we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're just getting on with things. But what it actually is this: an inherited habit that no one has questioned. And it's quietly consuming your time, your energy, your influence, and your visibility. And you know what? The really insidious parts, because it's never been a conscious decision, it never feels like something you can change. It just feels like this is how things are. Sarah's meeting wasn't a strategy. It was just a tired old habit that no one questioned. And I want to ask you right now, where in your working week is something happening, not because it adds value, but because it's just what happens? A meeting, maybe a report, a process, a way of communicating, something that if you held it up to the light and asked, is this the best use of my time and my team's time? The honest answer would probably be not. Let's be clear. In organisations under pressure, and right now, which organisation isn't under pressure? The default is to keep moving, keep reacting, keep doing. And the people who stop, even for 5 minutes, and ask, whoa, wait, is this actually worth it? Those are the people who start to stand out. Not because they're working harder, because they are thinking smarter. That 5-minute question is a 2mm difference that compounds into something enormous. So as we slip towards the end of this episode, let's just check in on those 3 promises I made to you at the start. I said I'd help you understand why smart, talented women get stuck in reactive mode and what it costs them. Well, I hope Sarah's answered that one for you. It's not because she's not good enough, because she is frankly brilliant, but because the system around her rewarded the doing and nobody had ever given her permission to question it. That's what reactive mode does. It eats your visibility, your influence, and quietly, your confidence. I said you'd meet Sarah and that her manager's line was going to follow you into your own diary. So has it? Because it's just something we have to go through. It's one of those sentences that sounds completely unremarkable until suddenly it isn't. Until you hear it and start counting how many things in your own week fall into that category. If that sentence is sitting with you right now, good. Let it sit there. That's it, doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And then finally, I said you discover the unspoken rule running your week. We do it because that's how it's always been done. Check, that one's free. Do with it what you will. Now, Wednesday, we're going full science geek on this because there's a reason your brain defaults to reactive mode, and it is genuinely fascinating. We're also going to talk about the systems inside organisations that are completely unintentionally designed to keep you stuck in not the club, just crappy processes. And I've got some questions for you that are going to feel slightly uncomfortable and hopefully deeply useful. Wednesday, don't miss it. That's it for today. But before you go, if a woman came to mind while you were listening, maybe the one who's stuck, the one circling a promotion, the one you know is quietly wondering if it's just her, send her this episode. Because she gets to feel less alone and you get to be the woman who refused to let her stay stuck. who reached back instead of scrolling on. Be in her corner like I'm in yours. See you Wednesday.